guess that's the boss. So today I'm gonna be watching another RetroAhoy video, and this is the second one that's been it has been re-released. A re-released old episode, which is called RetroAhoy Pinball Dreams, and I don't think I've ever played a pinball game in my channel, so might do that one day when I'm bored. Either way, let's do this. Jesus. Oh, very good intro, showcasing the Atari 2600 controller and the console.
Hello, this is RetroAhoy.
Hi.
And this is Game Over.
I thought it was named.
A retrospective on some of the less well-known but still significant titles of the decades past in gaming.
Okay.
In this episode, we're taking a look at the genesis of what might be the finest series of pinball simulators of the 1990s, with Pinball Dreams. Released in 1992 on the Commodore Amiga by publishers 21st Century Entertainment, and developed by the then unknown studio Digital Illusions, Pinball Dreams was a foray into the realistic digital pinball simulator scene. 21st Century Entertainment were founded in 1991 and had a few titles to their name prior to the release of Pinball Dreams, such as Rubicon, Zarathustra, and Nebulous 2.
Okay.
Digital Illusions can trace their roots to Swedish demo scene group, The Silence, as the four founders, Ulf Mandorf, Olaf Gustafsson, Fredrik Liljegren and Andreas Axelsson were all former members.
Wow, nice spelling the last names.
Pinball Dreams was their first commercial effort, and the slick graphics, titling and music synchronization reflects the demo scene influence. Aside from the great presentation, the game was also notable for its commitment to the real pinball experience. Rather than some of the more fanciful features seen in other pinball games, the intent with Pinball Dreams was to emulate a real table as closely as possible. To this extent, the game was a success. The tables were authentic enough, and the physics behind the game, while occasionally floaty or mildly quirky, was solid.
Wow.
The game featured 4 tables total, each with a significantly different theme and layout, and offered a substantial alteration to gameplay in each instance. The first table, Ignition, is a spaceship-themed affair in which the ultimate goal is to travel the solar system by collecting fuel and then hitting the launch chute.
Right.
It's a wide-open table with a few major features, fast-paced but predictable. Steel Wheel is the second, a Wild West American Railroad-themed table in a suitably dusty brown hue. Here you collect new carriages and raise your ticket prices to attain the higher scores. Running the repeatable ramps yields great score bonuses. The third table, Beatbox, simulates your rise to fame in the 90s music industry, as by hitting targets and running ramps you can rise up the charts and embark on global tours. Most of the action is towards the bottom of the table, requiring you to repeatedly run routes in quick succession to unlock the higher rewards. Nightmare, the final table, labelled as Graveyard on the backdrop, oddly enough, is a crypt-themed table in which you advance the clock slowly to midnight.
It says
strive for the jackpot and super jackpot, with a multi-million point yield sure to secure a spot in the high score table.
Damn.
These 4 tables boast diverse gameplay elements, with each offering a unique graphical style and reactive music soundtrack. Although there had been many pinball games before, few had captured the essence of a real table in the way that Digital Illusions were able to.
Got the jackpot.
Through fusion of slick controls, smooth scrolling, and good, realistic table design, the pinball experience was more authentic than most other digital simulators at the time. More importantly than that, though, the game was actually fun. Beyond the slick mechanics and presentation, the table design was such that achieving the higher levels and the top scores was no mean feat, but very satisfying when you were on a hot streak. The addictive gameplay was bolstered by the persistent high scores, with your previous best effort saved to disk as a future yardstick to strive for. It's this combination of factors that made Pinball Dreams a fitting tribute to what was a fading cultural phenomenon. With the advent of more advanced graphics and the increased focus on home systems over the arcade, the mechanical pinball machines of yesteryear were starting to fade away from popular culture. Pinball Dreams was generally praised by critics, with most scores in the high 80s pushing the 90% mark. The engine behind the game went on to some good use, and in the same year a sequel was released, in Pinball Fantasies. This sequel offered a few technical improvements, taller tables, a third flipper on some, and a more advanced matrix display for backboard animations. 1995 saw another sequel in Pinball Illusions, which introduced support for the more advanced graphics architecture on the Amiga 1200 and MS-DOS, and the inclusion of a multi-ball mode. True Pinball would be the last pinball simulator by the developers. Developed for the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn, it was essentially a 3D version of Pinball Illusions, as it included the same 4 tables. Some of the Digital Illusions developers would join Liquid Design, who went on to produce the last great Amiga pinball game. Slamtilt, also published by 21st Century. Following the publication of Slamtilt, 21st Century would see few subsequent successes. Little more than a few rehashed pinball games before the company finally closed its doors in the year 2000.
Oh.
Their name, along with their Griffon logo type, will be remembered for Digital Illusions pinball series. But with the slow death of the Amiga, Digital Illusions were set to move on to greater pursuits. In 2002, Digital Illusions Creative Entertainment, now branded as DICE, embarked upon a new franchise,
I knew it.
some distance away from their pinball games, with a military-themed first-person shooter.
Which is Battlefield.
Battlefield 1942 was the first in what was to be a long-running series, published by Electronic Arts. Boasting a great multiplayer experience,
The franchise
the
is
game
almost
was
16 years old.
And EA
That's
invested
insane.
heavily in DICE, buying 19% of their stock for majority ownership. The series was followed by Battlefield 2 in 2005,
Yep.
Battlefield 2142 in 2006,
Yep.
and a series of Bad Company games developed from 2008, specifically for the consoles. By this point, the studio was purchased wholesale by EA and became a permanent addition to their stable, and have since been working on new IPs such as Mirror's Edge and the continuation of the familiar Battlefield series, with the forthcoming Battlefield 3. Pinball's heyday has long since passed, with the noisy, bulky mechanical boxes edged
then
out in
Battlefield
arcades by
Hardline and
newer,
Battlefield
more reliable
1.
forms of digital entertainment. With the shift away from the arcade in the 90s, home computers would prove a more fertile ground for game developers, sounding the death knell for the coin-ops. For those who missed the height of the pinball era, the chance to relive some of the simplistic excitement of a steel ball, tilted plane and mechanical flippers was a welcome one, which goes some way to explain the popularity of pinball games in the early 90s. Pinball Dreams, then, is a homage to the old guard, a cultural echo of a fading treasure, a memory of bustling arcades and pinball wizards of time gone by. Join me next time as we cover another entry in the history of gaming, as we explore the roots of the shoot-'em-up with arcade title Galaxian.
Okay.
Until then, farewell.
You saw that, you heard that he didn't mention Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1 because this video and a few others, I think before Half-Life, before they made video Half-Life and then Quake, all those videos came out in 2011 and it was re-uploaded in 2015, I believe. Yep, 2015. And don't mind the freaking screensaver. Get out of my way, my new online game. God damn. I think they always do that because they want me to play. Well, I mean, they want the cameraman to play and do a live stream of it. God damn it, game. Either way, that's been it. And if you enjoyed this one, please give it a like, which means a lot. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss any of my videos and his live streams. So check out his channel in the description and. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put the video as well in the description. I don't know. I have to check on the editing on the edit section of my reaction to RetroAhoy's Ant Attack. Oh yeah, you can watch my reaction to that in the description below. So yeah, either way, that's been it. And yeah, so stay safe and stay strong. And we're gonna have something special for you next week. All right. At the start of next week, before we go straight to February. So, yeah. Stay safe and strong as always. Take care, guys. And, yeah. Peace!